welcome to this week's episode of Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Evan Crean. My pronouns are he, him. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and co-host of the It's the Pictures podcast.
My name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast. I too am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics.
I'm Dave Riedel. My pronouns are he, him. I write about movies, and I'm also a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
Yes, you are. Well, on this week's show, we have movies to talk about as always, but before we get to this week's movies, I want to mention that over on our Patreon this week, our Patreon exclusive audio, we are talking about Night on Earth, which is a Jim Jarmusch film that we watched in honor of Jenna Rollins, who recently passed away. And we had a really fun conversation about it. So if you're a patron, check it out. And if you're not, consider joining. For just $5 a month, you get access to weekly exclusive episodes that we do. Usually talking about older films. So higher likelihood you might have seen them already. And also we do monthly polls. And we actually have a poll coming up. So look out for that. You get to vote and pick which movie that we're going to watch. And that's very fun too. And I also, while I'm on the topic, I want to say thank you and shout out our sponsor, Peace Patron, Heather Sachs. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Heather.
Now, on to this week's movies. We have 3 movies we're going to be talking about. One, I'm going to start with a short review of Between the Temples. And then we're going to talk about Hellhole, which is a horror film, as you might guess based on the title. And Smoking Tigers, which is a drama, coming of age drama. So, first, I will start with Between the Temples, which is a comedy, I guess. It stars Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah, that's never a good way to start.
It's a comedy, yes. I guess.
I did laugh out loud a couple of times, but I would say that's early in the film. It stars Jason Schwartzman and Carol Kane. It's written and directed by Nathan Silver and co-written by C. Mason Wells. And here's our one-sentence IMDb. A cantor in a crisis of faith finds his world turned upside down when his grade school music teacher re-enters his life as his new adult bat mitzvah student. So, Jason Schwartzman is the cantor in question. His wife has died about a year or so ago. He's moved back in with his moms, who are very desperate for him to date again, to try and kind of get out of his funk that he's in. He's can't really sing. He can't bring himself to sing, which is terrible as a cantor. And he's not having an easy time. And so his moms try to set him up on a date in the beginning of the movie, and he's like, what is even going on? Because they just invite this woman over, and it's really awkward. And then, Carol Kane was his music teacher growing up, and she wants to have a bat mitzvah. You find out that she is Jewish, but married a non-Jew, and they had a whole life together, and now she's an adult and she wants to have her bat mitzvah. And you also find out when she was a kid, she couldn't really participate because her parents were communists and they were not accepted in their Jewish community. And so she's like, okay, I have all these reasons I want to do it. And first he's like, no, for really no good reason other than it seems like he just doesn't want to do it. But then the rabbi, who's played by Robert Smigel, is like, no, you should do it.
Sorry. Robert Smigel. Amazing.
Yeah. And he's kind of funny in the role, actually. There was one of the funnier scenes is that he's in his office and he's got his putter and he's hitting golf balls into a shofar as his target. And he's like, don't tell anyone about this. We'll just tell him it was a non-kosher shofar. That was actually a funny scene. There were a couple of funny scenes in this. But largely it becomes incredibly painful and just real slog. So where it leads is that, they connect, the two of them, Carol Kane and Jason Schwartzman. And he enjoys spending time with her, and he starts hanging out with her and doing her lessons at her house. her roommate gives them some tea, which turned out to be mushroom tea, and he has this crazy hallucination where he sees his
God.
younger self at his bar mitzvah. They become, kind of codependent. Like, he starts hanging out at her house a lot, and like the kind like where he's like wearing her son's pajamas and like staying over, and to the point where he shows up and he's like, the fuck is going on here? And their relationship, it gets real weird when it's
Oh.
like the night before she has a health scare, and like she has they allude to her having like mini strokes and things, and so she ends up in the hospital, can't get a hold of her son, and then asks for him, saying like, oh, call my other son Ben to come see me. And so he like shows up right away, and then he's like, oh no, like we should fast track your bat mitzvah, because instead of taking the full year, like you're ready, you're good, you're gonna do this. And so it's like the night before, and he has her over to his house, with his moms and also the rabbi and his daughter. And in between this, the rabbi's daughter, who the rabbi was trying to set him up with, he's like, she's kind of a mess too. Like, you guys will hit it off. And they hook up in a very weird, uncomfortable way. Like, so his wife, Jason Schwartzman's wife, was an author, and she wrote a very famous like book that the rabbi's daughter like borrows and reads. And then she meets him at the cemetery where he's visiting his wife's grave. And she's like, I got really turned on by that book.
Oh my God.
And she's asking him about his wife, and he's like, yeah, my wife used to leave me these like really racy voicemails where she'd like dirty talk on the voicemails, and she's like, I want to hear it. So then she like he plays this like really explicit voicemail, and then she starts like mimicking the wife and like mimicking what she was saying, and then they like have sex. And so, jump to this dinner where Carol Kane is over, and the rabbi and the wife and his, wife and daughter are there. And at the dinner, Jason Schwartzman confesses his love for Carol Kane, and says like, in like the weirdest possible way, like he's like, let's play a game of telephone. This will be fun. And like, her name is Carla Kessler, and so he's like, I love you, Carla Kessler. Ice cream cones is like what he says.
What?
Yeah. And so the dinner just like explodes because everyone's like, what the fuck? Like, you're in love with her? Like, this is so weird. And even Carol Kane's like, what? Like, but also she's not like appalled. She's kind of like, I'm just kind of confused. Like, I need a minute to like process this. And so she like leaves, and he chases after her and like falls over and hits his head. And like wakes up, and they're in bed together. Like, they're just sitting in bed together in her bed, which they had done before. Like, just like laid there next to each other and like talked. And they're like, okay, well, I guess we're not gonna have the bar mitzvah. That'd be super weird now. So let's just do it here at your house. Because there was like a scene earlier where she was like, the first like bat mitzvah happened at someone's house. Like, a rabbi did it for his daughter because like it wasn't accepted in the community at the time. So the movie like ends with them doing like this bat mitzvah in the yard, and you're just like, okay. So this was not the movie I was expecting at all. I was kind of expecting like a cutesy story of like this guy and his music teacher like reconnecting and like bonding, and maybe like talking about life, and him like, I suspected like, okay, maybe he'll like open up more, and like this will kind of like knock him on his ass in a good way. Not, it's going to be really awkward that he falls in love with her and just creates all these awkward situations with the rabbi and the rabbi's daughter and his family. Was not what I was expecting at all from this movie. So it's really awkward. Multiple uncomfortable scenes, like the sex in the car at the cemetery and the dinner. And it's also just shot in really bad ways. Like, it has this really washed out look that makes it kind of look like it could be like kind of a 70s movie. And it's edited in a really terrible way where there's lots and lots of close-ups of people's faces, especially of them eating, with like loud sounds of them smacking their lips in scenes, like eating burgers and like stuffing them in their face. And it's just really gross and weird. And it's also just edited in a very frenetic way that makes you just like, especially in the dinner, I felt ill because it was just cutting so fast between these weird up close shots in a frenetic way, and it was not good. So it was not good on a lot of levels. Like the editing wasn't good, the cinematography wasn't good, the dialogue was okay, the writing was poor. Jason Schwartzman's character, he's just a sad like lump of a person, and they don't give you really any reasons to root for him. Especially not the way this all goes down, the way he's like really shitty to the rabbi's daughter and then like confesses his love at this dinner and just completely just blows up his entire life. It's not good.
Glad I missed it.
Very disappointed by this movie. And weirdly, for a movie that's about a cantor, there's just things about it that don't make sense. Like Carol Kane, like knowing that she's Jewish, like, and I know she wasn't. They kind of imply like, okay, she wasn't really raised with a lot of this stuff. Like she went to bar mitzvahs, like when she was a kid, and she liked the experience. But like, there's just stuff that she doesn't know. That's like, if you were Jewish, I feel like you would know that. Like she completely clueless when she shows up at their house for Shabbat, and it's like you probably would know some of the things about it. You wouldn't just be completely clueless about it. So there's just things like that that don't make any sense. So I don't know what was going on with this movie, but it's not good. I was really bummed because I thought I was really gonna like it.
I'm sorry it didn't work out.
Yeah. And Carol Kane is fine, but I feel like the writing is just not good enough. Like, there's only so much she can really do with it to like rise to the occasion.
Yeah, as someone who doesn't like awkward humor, I'm glad I missed it.
It's so cringe. Just absolutely
yeah, no
cringe.
thank you.
Like horribly uncomfortable. Like if I was in a movie theater, I would be sinking in my seat during multiples. Like, I'd be like this. I'd be like just sliding down my chair.
Listeners, I love that Evan actually slid down in his chair to demonstrate visually for us.
Right. Yeah. I don't think I've ever slid down in my chair in a movie theater as much as I did during the sex scene in Her. I think that's the time where I at most was like, this is making me very uncomfortable.
Oh, I love that sex scene. I think that's really erotic and tender and sweet, and I don't find anything awkward about it.
I'm right in the middle. I don't remember it. Hey.
Anyway, we can move on from this, but I was just so disappointed, I really wanted to like this going into it.
Yeah.
It's such a bummer that so many things about it were just not working, and it was just so cringy and so awkward and just so difficult to watch at the end. I was so glad when it ended.
Oh, that's never good when you're glad something's over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like put me out of my misery. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about Hellhole, which is the latest movie by the Addams family. Not that Addams family.
Yeah, 1D.
The other Addams family.
Yeah, the indie horror movie making family. The family that makes horror movies together to stay together. It's written and directed by John Adams and directed by Toby Poser. Oh, it's written and directed by John Adams and Toby Poser, and Lulu Adams is one of the co-writers. It's their daughter. And here's our IMDb summary. Hellhole hails from the filmmaking family behind Hellbender. It does. That was a good movie. I liked it.
I love it.
And so good. And centers on an American-led fracking crew that uncovers a living French soldier frozen in time from a Napoleonic campaign whose body hosts a parasitic monster. Okay. I did not see this, so I'm going to have to rely on Megan and Dave to tell me whether that's an accurate summary. And also, like, I'm just picturing a very gory kind of movie, and I'm curious if that's what it ended up being.
That's an accurate description, and it's not as gory as you'd think, but there are some gory moments with exploding heads and exploding horse in the first 5 minutes. Exploding heads, exploding bodies. So that's pretty gory.
Does fracking cause the exploding heads and bodies?
No, the parasite does.
Okay.
Yeah, the parasite
So
does.
tell me more.
Dave, do you want to take this, or do you want me to talk about the plot?
I will talk about it for about 30 seconds and then let you go.
Oh, take it away.
I fucking hated this from the moment it started to the moment it ended. Fucking hate.
I thought you were going to talk about the plot, and I love that instead you're talking about your seething hatred
why
of this.
talk about the plot? It's fucking, it's a stupid story. The CGI blood is fucking inexcusably awful. And Toby Poser can't fucking act for shit. So what's to like when she's in so much of the movie? Oh my God, Megan. This is, I don't remember Hellbender so much, but I remember thinking, oh, this is okay, at least, you know. Mm-hmm. But this is a different animal.
Yeah, it's a very different movie. It's very different thematically, tonally. Yeah, it's very different. It's a different genre within horror. Yeah.
Well, two things then. One, please do explain the plot and what you thought of it. And two, I'm sorry I shit all over it because I know.
No, I think that's hilarious. No, the only reason why I even interjected is you're like, what's to like about this? You asked the question. I know it's a rhetorical question, but you asked it. So I was like, well, I did. But no, I think it's funny. I'm totally fine. I am totally fine with it. Well, I wish you didn't hate it because that's not a fun experience to hate something, but.
You know how Evan just said he couldn't wait. He was like, when is this going to be over?
Couldn't wait for it to be over.
I was 15 minutes into this and I was just like, nope. So actually, I was like that the first 90 seconds. But anyway.
Well, the first 90 seconds are not good, and nor the first 15 minutes. For me, this is a slow burn in the sense that it starts off really rocky, and then for me, it got better as it went along, and I liked the last 30 minutes. So for me, it takes a bit of time. So yeah, I agree with you. If you're just judging by the first 10, 15 minutes, yeah, I would also dislike this. But to me, it finds its groove.
Okay.
So... So I'll flesh out the plot a little bit more, and then because it's a pretty simplistic plot, and then I'll tell you why I liked it, what I did like about it. So Toby Poser plays Emily, or Em as they call her, and she's the lead in this fracking crew, and they're in Serbia. And the film opens with a flashback to the Napoleonic times, where there's French soldiers in Serbia, and a woman gives them a horse, and I'm not sure exactly why, but then they take this horse to the other soldiers, and then the horse explodes, and you later learn it's because of the parasite that's within the horse. So Emily, or Em, she's leading this crew, and she is in charge of the fracking crew. And there's also a couple of scientists there. So there's one guy who's a scientist, and then his intern is there. And they're trying to ensure, they're studying the land, and they're also trying to ensure that the fracking is done responsibly and is not fucking up the land too much, and which causes some tension and conflict between Em and the scientist guy. And they start drilling, and pretty soon into the drilling, they start noticing this really weird smell, and they hit something weird. And then the scientist starts doing he takes some tissue samples, and something's not right. They're getting weird readings. It's kind of like a sea creature, like kind of like a crab, kind of like an octopus, but not like those things. And meanwhile, they find the frozen soldier who's French and only speaks French. And Em's nephew took a semester of French, so he speaks like very rudimentary French and really doesn't do a lot to help translate. All he really understands is the guy keeps saying, please, and you are me. And he thinks that the guy wants them to kill him. Like, he eventually gets that.
Tu moi means kill me. So.
Right, but he's not entirely sure that that's what he's saying.
Well, tu also means you. So
exactly. Yeah. Right, because like my rudimentary French, I was like, why does he keep saying you are me? Because that's what I thought too. Because even though I took 6 years of it, but I still don't speak it fluently. But anyway, I digress. So yes, so he's very confused. The guy seems confused, obviously, because he's been in the ground for a couple hundred years. And so they give him blankets and sandwich and liquids. And then when one of the workers who's kind of a creep, like he's got anger issues and he's kind of a weirdo, and this is played by John Adams, who, Dave, when you talked about how bad Toby Poser is, I don't think she's bad. I think he's bad.
He's pretty bad too.
He is a horrendous actor. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I say I don't know what he's doing in this. Obviously, it's
cheaper
a
to
family
cast
production.
yourself, right? So
it is very much so. So yeah, but I'm like, this guy, no, he's not good here. So, but he's like, he has a knife with him and he's kind of like waving it around the guy. And he's like, no, I'm not going to kill you. You have to do it yourself. And then, but the problem is that when the French soldier gets a hold of the knife and he tries to kill himself, he can't do it because, unbeknownst to the other guy, the parasite won't let you kill yourself. So he like has the knife up to his head and it just won't work. But instead he and then he does end up dying, and then he ends up going into John's body, because I just remembered that John Adams is playing John. So he goes into John's body, and then he must know the information from the previous host, because he starts being all weird and stuff and talking about his wife with one of the other guys. And then he says, I think the guy was a soldier, and I think he was from a long, long time ago, like hundreds of years. And the other guy's like, whoa, what drugs were you taking? Like, this is crazy. This makes no sense. But basically the parasite keeps like going from person to person. And when you have it inside yourself, you know you have it. And something else too is that when the whole group of them were talking to the French soldier before he dies, the scientist sees like something come out of his nose, and it's like a little wiggly worm, and it's a little tiny tentacle. And then later they see coming out of his ear, and later an enormous part of the parasite comes out of his butt. Naturally, where else would it come out? Mm-hmm. So basically the parasite is moving from person to person, and it goes into this guy. I think it's Danka. Let me see if that's his name, because I wrote it down. Danko.
Which guy is he?
He's one of the workers. He's the one who has it the longest, and he knows he has it, and he knows he's going to die. And he starts crying about it. And I actually thought his performance was pretty good when he starts crying and he's like really upset because he knows, he's like, I'm not going to make it. He's like, this is it. I'm going to die because this thing is not going to let it come out. Like, it's not going to come out willingly. You're going to have to kill me. And then the scientists are also doing some work. And because of the similarity in cellular structure or physiology to octopuses, they talk about the reproduction, and they talk about the eggs, and they talk about like the egg sac. And so they're kind of like speculating some things about that when they finally realize what's happening and that it's a parasite. So basically it all culminates into trying to find a place to kill Danko, so that the parasite will die. But the parasite goes to men. It only goes to men. It won't go to women because it's trying to plant the eggs or something. And so basically it's building to this kind of like bloodbath where people are just dying left and right and heads are exploding. And then in the final moments after Danko has died, and he does this by going out into like a lake, like going out into the water to like drown, thinking it'll drown, I guess, the creature too, but it doesn't. And instead it tries to get the scientist. And then when the scientist has been infected with the parasite and the parasite is like taking over his body, M is there because her nephew and the intern, who's a woman, they've left, and then she's trying to kill it, but it gets on top of her, and it doesn't want her body because she's a woman. And so then they're running away, her nephew and the intern, and then you see the creature like racing after them so he can get get inside her nephew. And then it cuts, and then you see like her nephew in the tub and like the intern like kind of consoling him. So clearly he got the parasite. So that is it in a nutshell. The broad strokes.
I forgot to tell you what I liked least.
Okay. What did you like least?
It's straight. The score. The score drove me insane.
Oh, I hated the score. It's a metal score, but like a bad metal score.
It's almost like it's so bad, I have to think it was done on purpose.
It was done on purpose.
It was done on purpose to be bad?
No, I don't think it was done intentionally to be bad.
Oh, no, I'm sure it was metal on purpose.
Yes. My point is, I don't think they just randomly were like, yeah, sure, this is a fun score. Like, I think it's very intentionally trying to evoke that vibe.
Oh boy. It's kind of funny to me what movies aren't on my speed anymore. I'm not sure if because I like body horror. I like me some body horror, but
yeah.
I think the big problem is, one, the acting. Two, I don't think this looks very good. Three, I harp on this all the time. CGI special effects, especially in like low budget stuff, really, they're just not good. And so I couldn't tear myself away from that, which, if I were like a better film watcher, maybe I could. But I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you found some fun with it.
Well, let me tell you why I liked it, because I haven't actually said why I liked it yet. You're talking about the CGI, and you're absolutely right, but there's so much puppetry done with the parasite.
Yes.
And I really liked the puppetry. I liked the practical effects. I wish there was more. Like, I think it just should have been that.
Probably way too expensive.
Yeah, probably. But I'm just saying, like, I liked that element of it.
Sure.
I think Toby Poser I don't think she's the best actor by any means. I think she's good here. I think she's better in Hellbender, and possibly because she's acting opposite her daughter, but she's acting opposite her partner here. But yeah, I actually liked her acting. And I really liked the guy who played Donko. I thought he was really good, especially in the scene where he's crying and he's just so distraught that his life is over and like he's been given this death sentence and he knows it. I will say... I'll also say what I didn't like. I didn't like the writing. I did not like the humor in this at all. I did not like the corny dialogue. Like there's some cheesiness there that I was not a fan of. And like I said, the last 30 minutes, I think really this film comes together and really brings it on home for me. I really liked, you talked about, Dave, how you didn't like the look of this. There's a shot, and it's kind of hokey, but I'm also like, that's kind of a throwback to like creature features, like cheesy ones from like the 80s. But I liked this POV shot of the creature, of the parasite when it's looking at M. And it was kind of like this weird psychedelic colors, and you're seeing it through its eye because it has this like enormous, weird, creepy eye. And I kind of liked that. But what I really liked is the film's themes of reproduction and gender and quarantine and parasites. They talk about whether or not the creature should live and if it should be studied, or if they should just kill it. And I mean, these are very similar to the themes in Alien. And obviously, Alien is a masterpiece of a film and does it much better. But I do like that it is delving into those same themes and exploring them. I wish it did it a little more deeply, maybe a lot more deeply, and I wish the writing was better. But yeah, I see what they were going for here, and it is really low budge. And so there are some parts that don't look, spectacular. And I don't love this nearly as much as I did Hellbender. But like I said, it's a totally different vibe. There's some comedy in this. It's, a monster body horror, whereas the other one was about witchcraft. So very different feels, very different genres or subgenres of horror. But yeah, I ended up having fun with this. But the beginning is rough. It is a rough, rocky beginning. And there are definitely some flaws here. But to me, there were enough good things. I don't know if I'd want to watch it again, though, which, maybe speaks more to your point, Dave, about I don't think it was atrocious to watch or painful, but at the same time, if I don't want to rewatch this, what does that say about it? So,
yeah. Is Hellbender the one with Toby Poser and Zelda Adams?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
John Adams is in it too.
Right. And it's
just kind of briefly.
Yeah, it's all coming back to me now. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I liked that. I don't remember. I think so. I don't remember.
I remember liking it.
Mhm. I think you
Yeah.
did, Dave. I just don't think you liked it as much as Evan and I, but I thought you liked it.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Well, it's got like a fucking creepy vibe, which
yes.
this has got a
Yes.
silly vibe.
Yeah,
you know?
right. And that's what I
Mhm.
don't like about it. Like, that's the thing. Like, there are certain things I really like about this, but the silliness of it, the goofiness, the kind of like cheesiness, that's not my thing. And I think there are people who will love that. I mean, this got rave reviews from critics. So
Yeah.
clearly there are people out there who love that. That kind of like schlocky, hokey, cheesy silliness is not often my vibe. So that's why I was kind of surprised that I did like this.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, it sounds like it had some of the more traditional horror elements that you do like. And also,
Yes.
you talked about Darko's performance. So, yeah. And
Very
his
true.
performance was definitely better than the other ones.
Yeah. I think his performance is probably the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. His was really good. Yeah. So like I said, this I enjoyed. It's got some flaws, but I enjoyed this. But wow, I'm sorry, Dave, that you were like, I hate this.
Yeah. I had a lot of those movies this year. And they're all recent ones too.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a lot of other types of movies that I have seen and enjoyed. Like your description of it, I'm kind of thinking of things like The Thing and even Creature from the Black Lagoon, which we talked about recently. The themes that you're discussing about, like, should we kill it? Should we study it for science?
Yep.
But yeah, when something is schlocky, that's one thing. When something is intentionally schlocky, that's another. And I think in some ways that's almost harder to pull off because when you're trying to wink at the audience and you're being campy, it's a very fine line to walk between being campy in a way that works and being corny or what you were describing in a way that just does not work. And it's so hard to thread that needle. So I could see it like really turning some people off if that's just A, not the kind of movie that they like, or B, is just not done good enough.
Right. And yeah, that's why like you're absolutely nailing it, Evan. And that's why I am kind of surprised that I liked it, but it is kind of an uneven watch. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It is definitely going to turn some people off. Whereas other people are going to be like, yes, give it to me. Something else it reminded me of, not again, and kind of like a campy, schlocky version of this. It reminded me of the Russian sci-fi horror that we saw, Sputnik.
I like that.
Yeah, that is great. But it's kind of dealing like with the same thing as far as like a parasite like inside of you, and so this is also this is in Eastern Europe and it's cold. Like it's kind of like a gritty, grimy vibe. So it just kind of reminded me of that too, like a little bit of sprinkling of that in there too.
Okay. Is there anything else you guys wanted to say about Hellhole, or should we move on?
Good title.
Yeah, it is a good title.
It's a good title.
Yeah. Descriptive. We're fracking and we found a hellhole.
Yes.
Watch out. Don't trip and fall into that hellhole.
No.
Do they say the title in the movie? Does that come up?
No.
I don't think so.
Damn. That's a shame. It seems like if you're going for campy and schlocky, you should be like, oh man, I can't believe that thing came out of the hellhole.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not that kind of campy. Like it's not like dripping with camp. Like it's not. It's got like the touches of it.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, so then let's move on to talk about our last movie, which is Smoking Tigers, which is a coming of age story. It is written and directed by Soo-young Shelley Yo. Is that how you say your name? And it's one sentence IMDb. Follows Ha-young, a lonely 16-year-old Korean American girl who tries to hide her problematic family and lower income background from her new wealthy friends, only to discover the struggles of adulthood that will forever shape her life. Yeah? Yeah. She's her parents are separated. Her mom is a piano teacher. They're kind of grinding it out a little bit. She's got a younger sister. Um, her mom insists that she take this basically like an SAT prep kind of class with other students, and that's how she meets some of these other people that are like much more well off. I think they call it Hagwan is the name that they call it, like this prep thing. And it seems like it's pretty like well known in their Korean American community. Like it's kind of like a badge of honor to go through it. And there's they show up in the office there, and there's like the picture on the wall with like the woman who runs it with all these kids with like the pennants from like Princeton and all the like Ivies and good schools and things like that. And so yeah, she meets some other kids, and she's ashamed of being poor, and you know tells them some lies about like where she's living, and there's some flirtations with one of the guys in the group. And what else? She befriends this girl who is she just is like helping cheat in class to like get a better score. And then there's just stuff
because
with
her mother is abusing her when she
Right.
does badly.
Yeah. Does she start helping her before she finds out about the abuse though?
No.
No, it's
No.
after.
Okay. Yeah. She finds out that her mom is abusing her, so she helps her in class. And then later on, when they're discovered cheating, the girl just throws her under the bus immediately and says it was all her idea. Like, good friend, huh?
And I love afterwards, she's like, well, it was your idea. And it's like, wow, fuck you.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And then I think that's after she's like, oh, we went to your house and realized that wasn't your house. And it's awkward. It felt so bad for her.
Clearly, none of these people saw Lady Bird.
No.
Pardon me.
So yeah, and then there's just some stuff with her dad who's like living in the garage of the like place where he sells like carpet from, and he's like a bit of a mess. Like aside from the fact that he's like sleeping on a couch in a garage, like it seems like he's got money issues.
It seems like he's having an affair.
Yes, they heavily imply that he's having an affair based on a couple of things. One, when she's there at the garage, she's on the computer and finds a lipstick that she doesn't recognize. It's not her mom's.
Mm-hmm.
And then later she has like a bad night and she tries calling him and he doesn't pick up the phone, and she shows up at the garage and is like banging on the garage and he's not there. So yeah,
he lies and says I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, she's dealing with that. She's dealing with stuff with her dad, and then he ultimately ends up going back to Korea, and that causes a pretty explosive scene toward the end where she takes the car that he was going to give her and runs off and is like really upset about it. What else am I missing from plot summary territory here?
I mean, you nailed the big beats.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just like other little things, like her mom is a piano teacher, but has to give that up to to take another job, and then
at a restaurant.
Yeah,
that I think her aunt works at.
Think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And then just her relationship with her sister, and she's like helping out her sister, and yeah. So, but no, the major beats, yeah, you covered.
Yeah, it's just kind of a sad, like just kind of sad in the beginning. Like she's at this like rich lady's house while her dad's like selling carpet to her, and she ends up taking. You see, she's kind of like looking in the jewelry in in this like fancy bathroom, and she ends up taking, I think, a compact, but I can't remember if she also takes like a bracelet or something from the woman. She gives the compact to her sister. You get the sense that's not the first time that she's done that. She's gone to someone's house with her dad and has taken something from there. But she's a few scenes you see her like sitting in fancy bathrooms. She likes climbing into bathtubs. That happens a couple of times in the movie. And then like later on, there's this like housing development that's being built, and she's just like hanging out inside one of the houses. She like goes there to hang out and like imagines what her life would be like if they lived there. So there's like a little bit of like surreal elements to it, but not super heavy on that. It's more kind of like, otherwise I would say pretty grounded in reality. But yeah, what did you guys think? Megan, what do you think?
I liked this. I really liked the bulk of the cinematography. Right away, it starts off with like very vibrant colors of the flowers, and you see the glow of lights at night. I love the scene where the sisters, you see the reflection in the pool and they're upside down. And then you see Hyung's reflection in the glass as she's looking at a non-divorced family. And then she does this again in another scene where she's looking at where you see her reflection in a family portrait. That's not her family. It's a different family. And I like this because it gives this visual of that. You had said this earlier, like she's imagining her life, you know, with her family still together, her parents still together, and they're in this really expensive house. And she's doing this again where she keeps imagining herself, and we're seeing the visuals of that. And I really loved that. And I love that this, the motif of reflections kind of speaks to the idea of cultural norms and how we view ourselves and view our lives. And in the press notes, the writer-director So-young Shelley Yo, she said, when our lives don't mirror these like picturesque portrayals of like success and the American dream and all of that, she says, how does that affect us? And how do these idealized reflections of family and lifestyle poison our minds and pressure us to make choices we wouldn't otherwise? And I think that's really interesting, this kind of visual of reflections and this visual of her imagining her life being different. And would that really make her happier? Would it not? And so I think there's some really interesting themes here about class and about, you know, how teens and adults too, but teens, you know, yearn to fit in, and we see that, and how we measure success. And I think that's all really interesting, along with, you know, her, you know, burgeoning friendships with this rich clique. And then you have that also with her relationship with her sister. And I like how she's like shielding her sister, like when her parents are fighting, like her mom is like fighting with her dad about like, you know, you always break your promises and you're never there and kind of this and that. And why can't you get your money together, get your finances in order? And she has headphones on and she takes the headphones off and she's like, hey, you know, Aka, do you want to listen to this song? And I like how she's like shielding her little sister. And I also like how we see the relationship with her father and how she really loves her father and such a tight relationship with him. And he's really sweet and lovely to her. Like it's so easy to show a deadbeat dad and where he's like rude or a dick or, you know, totally not invested in his daughter's lives. And that's not the case. But he is really a fuck up and can't get his shit together. Say that.
He's invested. He's just a fuck up.
Yes, he's such a fuck up. And it doesn't seem like he has his priorities right, or he doesn't know, like he's in over his head and doesn't know how to get out of this, like, you know, sinking hole. But I do really love their relationship. And I love that, like the little moments, like how smoking, the smell of cigarettes reminds her of him. And like she hates the taste. Because he gives her like a puff of a cigarette and he's like, you should try things and figure things out for yourself and see if you like them, which I love that philosophy. I wish more parents had that and bestowed that on their children. But I like that she's like, well, I don't like the taste. It's gross, but I love the smell because it reminds me of you. And it's interesting how she's so resentful to her mother, which is kind of, I don't want to say it's a cliche thing and a common thing, but it kind of is, you know, when parents get divorced or they separate, you know, a lot of times kids can gravitate to one parent over the other. Not that it always happens, of course, but I think that's interesting. And I think it's really fascinating to see her come around and realize all the sacrifices her mother has made. Because I was thinking about this and I was like, I grew up in a very working class household and my parents got divorced when I was super young. And as soon as I turned 16, as soon as I could work, I was out there working. And like she's 17 and she does not have to work. Like she's taking this, you know, college prep class. And so she's lucky in that way. But yeah, so it's just, I think it's doing a lot of really interesting things with family and, you know, societal expectations and friends and, you know, all of these things. And I loved the lead performance by Ji Young Yu. I think she's really, really great. So I liked this. I really liked this bittersweet film. I thought it was really sweet and bittersweet. And the ending made me cry.
Yeah. Yeah,
which is not hard to do. I cry often in movies.
Yeah. I mean, it's a sweet ending, although it
is.
Now, I got the impression that she got his voicemail and then she's imagining that conversation. Am I wrong?
I did not get that impression, but I think that's a fair read.
Yeah.
I think that's a very fair read.
Because she does a lot of imagining.
Right. I just thought she was imagining that he was there, like right outside her car.
That too.
Right.
Yeah. But no, I think it works that way too, that she just got the voicemail. Yeah.
Evan, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. I mean, I feel very similarly to Megan about this movie. I think it feels weird to say I enjoyed it because at some points it is very bittersweet and sad, and you feel bad for her. Like, you know, she's having a really tough time, like kind of, you know, trying to fit in with people, you know, feeling like she was starting to make some friends and then just completely losing all of that. Like the scene where she's sitting by the pool next to all these kids and she's just, you could tell that her friend Rose is already like icing her out and she's just sitting there. Like that just, you feel so horrible for her. That must be like torture to be around people and feel like you're just treated like you're invisible. And all the stuff, you know, with her parents and her dad having to leave to go back to Korea. And, you know, they do have such a great relationship. And he is very sweet to her. He does care about her, even though he, like you said, Megan, he's a fuck up. I thought it was interesting how much more she code switches with him than she does with her mom. Like her mom is very much viewed as like the disciplinarian and the like, you know, you got to do well and get good grades, and that's why I'm paying thousands of dollars. I think they say it's like $3,000 for her to do this prep course, which is crazy to me because that seems like an insane amount of money. Especially, you know, for this family where it seems like the mom is kind of really struggling to scrape that kind of cash together just for the rent, let alone for this prep class.
And also, this takes place in like the early 2000s, so it's 20 years ago. So $3,000 was more, you know, then too. Which is crazy. Yeah. So I agree, it is crazy.
But it is well done, and I think it explores a lot of really important themes around class, race to a degree, like around the immigrant experience, and also, but also like being, you know, first or second generation and trying to like, you know, American and trying to find your way, and you know, like the emphasis on like, yeah, you know, we're not doing great, but if you get into that good college and you get that education, then you can get a leg up and you can, you know, pay that back into the family and, you know, help take care of us. And understandably, that's a lot of pressure to have to like feel like you have to succeed to kind of like help lift everyone else up around you. I really like the cinematography. Like you, I thought it was really well done. I liked that theme of reflections that kept showing up in the film, in the pool, like you said, in the family photo, and watching that family that's sitting down to dinner right after, you know, her mom's done the piano lesson there. And so I think all that was just really well done. I think I struggled a little bit with the lead actor in this because I had just seen the show Expats like recently, and in that she plays older. She's like 20 something ish and kind of a mess in that, and her character is like sleeping with older guys, and so just like it's difficult for me to like rewind seeing her now playing like a high schooler after seeing her play like more of an adult, more kind of like a naive ish high schooler ish age. So I think that was something I was struggling with, but I did think she was good. I thought she gave a great performance.
You know what's so funny about that? The same thing happened with Sydney Sweeney, because like I've seen her in Euphoria where she's, you know, like 15 or 16 and like that's what she's playing, and then she's in Anyone But You with Glenn Powell and she's like 25, 30, whatever she is in that. And then I saw her in Madam Web where she's once again like 16 and I'm like, wait, what? Like, yeah. So.
Yeah. it's a bit of a whiplash moment.
Yeah.
But I thought she was great in this, and I liked her in Expats too.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, just a little weird seeing someone like forward and then having to like bring them back in your mind. But I liked this movie. Like I said, feels weird to say I enjoyed it because like I feel like it tackles a lot of serious themes and is very kind of like bittersweet, especially the ending, which yeah, it got me choked up too, where she's, you know, talking to her dad, whether you think she actually is or not, and imagining him kind of right outside the car, and you see his reflection in the car door. So I dug it. What about you, Dave?
Oh, I loved it. What, are you kidding me? I mean,
Yay!
Yeah, I didn't think you would say you hated
this
it.
is absolutely this. I mean, this is kind of like a more dramatic, younger lead character version of Peak Season, right? I mean, in the sense of, I know I can see you being like, wait a minute, Megan.
No, I'm just I'm pondering that. I'm like,
I'm thinking about the sort of, 85 minutes long, serious dramatic moments of levity, really no plot in air quotes to speak of. Just kind of, this is what this character is experiencing right now,
Right.
Now I gotcha. Totally fair.
And I have not seen Expats, so I didn't have that
Yeah, me
hang up.
neither.
But I did have that hang up when John Cusack was in Say Anything after I had seen him in The Sure Thing, which came out 4 years earlier, and he was a college freshman in that. So, anyway,
Yeah.
I thought I'd throw in mine.
I love that we each have that experience
Yeah.
with someone different.
And I don't really have too much to add. I really liked the way this was shot. I liked the themes of reflection.
Yeah.
I think that some of the symbolism was a little too much. Like, at the end when she's scrubbing her mom's back and her mom just like loves it, and then the water washes all over the floor. It's like, okay, let's just. This is a little on the nose. Because there were a few moments like that, but otherwise, I was just thinking that, just quiet, dramatic, really well acted. I loved the father character, even though if he were my dad, it would totally frustrate the fuck out of me too. And their mother is frustrating too, but it's, what is she going to do? Just she can't be a fuck up because dad's a fuck up. So somebody's got to
be together.
And that scene where she plays, I don't remember the name of that Beethoven piece. But when she's playing that's the scene that brought me to tears. I was just like,
that's a great scene.
Because I was like, she doesn't really sound like she's a good player. And then she launches into that. And I was like, okay, this is what she's given up,
Yeah.
And that was some roof stoof, as they would have said on Happy Endings. So yeah, I just really dug it. I dug that it was so short. This is one of the few short movies like this that I feel like they could have added a few more scenes. Like,
I feel that way too.
Not that it's missing anything, but I wouldn't have minded some more, just, and I did, even though surprisingly, it did not move me to tears at the end. I really did love the way that last scene was shot, where dad she hears his voice on the phone, and then you just see his reflection just like sort of wander into the car window. And I really liked that theme. And I really liked the scene where she had gone into the house that was being finished or remodeled or whatever it was. And she's upstairs in the bathroom, and then she hears her mom call her for dinner, and then it's just the family scene, and it's just how heartbreaking. So I say it with a laugh, because what are you going to do? Cry? I mean, Jesus.
Yes.
So,
and laugh. Yes.
Very
this
well.
Is a really
very well
movie.
done. Yeah.
Yeah.
And fuck Rose, man. She sucks. I mean, I'm sorry that your mother's a piece of shit, Rose, but
I know, like, some fucking loyalty, Rose. Don't throw your friend under the bus.
Well, I think it's possible. The whole thing where she's icing her out as a friend is totally fucking weird. But I don't think it's right, but I can understand why Rose gave up her, our lead.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
100%.
if her mom finds that out, she's fucking dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but all the other shit, like with the guy who is interested in Young for half a second, and just It's like, I'm sorry that it happened to you, okay? So you don't have to.
Clearly, that was so obvious.
But she was right, though.
Yeah.
Rose was absolutely right
She was
about his
right, yeah.
behavior.
Mhm.
So
I think what bothered me more about Rose was how she was like, we went and saw your house and we know the truth. And then she just like walks away and like doesn't like, you didn't have to lie to us. We would have liked you anyway. Like,
Mhm.
no, there's nothing, no support, no like no comfort, nothing. I will say though, there is an interesting shot where afterward, after they take the test, Ha-young is like sitting and she's crouched down outside
Oh,
the
yeah.
school.
I know
And
the
then
one
you
you're talking
see,
about.
and then
Rose
you
go
see in the
looking
distance
for her.
Rose, and she's looking for her. Yeah. And I'm like, I wonder if Rose was like going to apologize or try to make amends. And we never know. Like, you just don't know what
Right.
happened. So,
Yeah, that's a gut punch of a shot because she's
Really
sitting
is.
down, like kind of hiding around the corner, and you see around the
Mhm.
corner, you see Rose looking for her, and being able to see both at the same time is
yeah.
it's a really smart way to do it.
Yeah.
And I also like the choice that Rose doesn't like walk down and find her, because why would Rose walk down and find her? They
Right.
always leave from the other direction.
Mhm.
So, it's one of those things that's like really smart. You don't think about the fact that they leave the same direction every time. And so there's no
Right.
reason Rose would walk down that way
Mhm.
when you see the bigger, wider shot. Oh, I love
Yep.
filmmaking.
Mhm.
See, listeners, I do like some things. When things are done well and they're
good.
smart. Even when you
Yep.
take a big swing and miss, I like that too. But shitty movies? Fucking goddamn it. Sorry.
All right.
Okay, I'm done.
That's okay. Do we have anything else we wanted to add about this movie?
Yeah, the only other thing that we haven't said is that I really like how the two sisters have divergent opinions on the parents, like how
Mhm.
Aka, the little sister, her little sister doesn't want their dad around. Like, she's like, why are
Yeah.
you so mean to dad? And she's like, well, he abandoned us and he's not around. And Ha-young is like defending him and saying like, well, he would be here if he could and all that. And then for her dance recital that's coming up, she's like, oh, I'll ask dad to come for your dance recital. And Aka's like, no, I don't want him there. Like,
Yeah.
a part of me is kind of like, I mean, he seems like such a nice guy, but he is such a fuck up that I'm kind of like, I'm kind of with her. Like, I understand why she's so frustrated with their father. So I think that just speaks, showing their different perspectives and how it's impacted each of them similarly and differently. I think it's a smart move. I like that. And I think you're right, Dave. You're speaking to how there's so many good choices made, smart choices, logical choices, but also very emotional choices. And I think this is just it's very clear this is a well-made but lovingly made film.
Yeah. Does well with its low budge too.
Yes.
Mhm.
I don't know
Yes,
if it was
does.
written with that in mind or if they're just like, it worked out that way. But
Mhm.
yeah. So.
Yeah. All right. So it sounds like we would recommend this one. We would recommend Smoking Tigers.
Yes. And it's
Sweet.
going to be on Max, so you can watch it.
Even better.
Mhm.
Even
If you have
better.
Max, of course.
Yes. If you're a Maxinista, we'll just co-opt that term from TJ Maxx.
Yep, you sure did. Maxinista,
Yeah.
oh man.
Just trying to make it happen. We'll see. Okay, so to recap, I would say do not see Between the Temples. It is disappointing.
What a bummer.
Yeah, huge bummer. Huge bummer. Super bummed. Seems like you both might be split on Hellhole.
These are divergent views, I think.
Yeah, I definitely will think this is a movie that's not going to be for everybody. Like it's I think it's going to have a specific audience. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a little rocky to get there, but I think it's worth watching, and it's going to be on Shudder.
Hard pass.
So Megan's your mileage may vary, and her
Yes.
car got better mileage on this movie.
That's
Dave's,
right.
like,
It's a good way to put it.
Dave's
That is a good
ran out
way.
of gas in the first 10 to 15 minutes.
And Dave threw a wrench at it because he was so mad.
That's right. I was like, fuck
Broke
you,
the
car.
windshield.
You're allowing
You
this
piece
bullshit.
of shit. I hate you.
6 miles a gallon. Fuck you.
Awesome. Okay. So we want to say a huge thank you to our editor, Otto Clammer. Otto, thank you for making us sound great week after week.
Thanks, Otto.
Thank you, Otto.
You can find the show anywhere you get podcasts, but you can also go to our website, which is spoilerpiece.com. You can find us on social media. We're Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook. We're at Spoiler Piece on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can, if you want to get in touch with us to, talk about any of these movies, tell me I'm wrong about Between the Temples, or Dave is wrong about Hellhole, or we're all right about Smoking Tigers, because there's no way you could hate that movie.
Right?
You can send us an email, spoilerpiece@gmail.com, or you can give us a call.
At 862-21-PEACE.
You can leave us a voicemail. We'd love to hear from you. You can also just contact us about other movies or other things you want to know about us and our opinions. We don't talk about it a lot anymore, but we have some pretty strong food opinions.
Oh boy, do we.
That we'd love to share. And if you like the show, please rate and review us by going to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece, and that will take you to your platform of choice. I would say it's most helpful if you could rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, but there's other places. You can now review us on Pocket Casts. That's apparently another place you can rate the show. So any little bit helps. It helps more people find out about the show. It gives us more cred in the podcast world. So we really appreciate it. And if you really, really like the show, please consider joining our Patreon. As I mentioned at the top of the show, this week we're talking about the Jim Jarmusch film Night on Earth, in honor of Jenna Rollins, who recently passed away. And we had a great time talking about that movie. And we also have a monthly poll coming up that you can vote in. So for $5 a month, you get access to weekly bonus episodes, and you can vote in those monthly polls. And yeah, it's pretty sweet. So thank you if you're a patron, and if you're not, consider joining. Thank you for tuning in this week. My name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of Your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and co-host of the It's the Pictures podcast. You can follow me on social media as Real Recon, and that's real as in film reel.
My name is Megan Kearns. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast. I too am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at OpinionSWorld, or on Instagram and Letterboxd at TheOpinionS.
And my name is Dave Riedel. I write about movies. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and Blue Skies. Dave Sees Movies.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.